Rogue, kitty, 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 are you going to do book club? Or are you just up high on the mountain? What's up, buddy? You're not going to come down? Okay. Alright, well, Rogue is going to stay up there, but I'm down low, and actually so is Daisy Ray. She's chewing on a bone. Griffin's actually tucked back in his little bed in the corner. Alright, hi everybody. This is Rogue's Reads, and I am Renee, the Children's Librarian at Salem Public Library in Salem, Ohio. And this is our virtual book club for kids in 4th to 8th grade, though any age is welcome to join us. We are currently reading Dan Gutman's The Genius Files, Never Say Genius. This is book 2 in the series, so if you're just now joining us, please back up a few weeks and catch up or go on to Hoopla, which is one of our ways to access digital books. I can't talk today, I apologize. So you can get a digital copy on Hoopla so that you can follow right along or read the first book and the first half of this one to get caught up with us. This is by Dan Gutman, and the publisher is HarperCollins Publishing, so thank you to HarperCollins and Dan Gutman for letting us share this book this way. Let's see, Coke and Pep McDonald are traveling cross-country with their parents on their way to a wedding in Washington, D.C. for their Aunt Judy, who they have not seen in 10 years because Aunt Judy and their mom got in a fight because their mom really did not like Aunt Judy's boyfriend. But now 10 years have passed and Aunt Judy's getting married, so they're going to go to the wedding and try to mend fences, and it's good to stay in touch with family if you can. So they just got out of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame by sliding down. Or they slid down the outside of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Oh, they went to the Hoover Museum because they thought it was about President Hoover, and it turned out it was Hoover vacuum cleaners. And see, I'm like a day behind on this. Okay. They got a new cipher. And we ended just as they drove into the state of Pennsylvania. So here we go. We're in Pennsylvania finally, getting closer and closer to Washington, D.C. Fact says anybody local knows you can make a drive to Washington, D.C. in under a day from where we are. So they are definitely getting close. All right, chapter 16. The Guy with the Black Cowboy Boots. Hey guys, guess what? Mrs. McDonald said excitedly. It says here that there's a flying saucer parked in a field in Mars, Pennsylvania. No, shouted Dr. McDonald. We're not going. He had nothing against flying saucers or visiting the town of Mars, Pennsylvania, but Dr. McDonald was anxious to get to Washington. He had never been to the National Air and Space Museum. The World War II memorial had not been built the last time he was in the nation's capital. The McDonalds weren't planning to spend a lot of days in Washington, and one of them would be taken up by his sister-in-law's wedding, so he didn't want to waste time looking at flying saucers in Pennsylvania. Mrs. McDonald continued to leaf through her guidebook. There's a zombie museum near Pittsburgh, she noted. It's in the mall where they shot the movie Dawn of the Dead. Does anybody know if that's true? I'm going to have to look that one up and find out if that one's true. No, said Dr. McDonald. We could visit Mr. Ed's Elephant Museum in Ortana. She said it has over 6,000. No! In North Huntington, there's a McDonald's that has a 14-foot tall Big Mac. No! They have a Big Mac sauce gun. No! There's this place called the House of Oddities near Pittsburgh. No! It's only a few miles out of our way. No! Dr. McDonald had been pretty flexible up to this point. And understanding up to this point, he had agreed to stop at just about every ridiculous tourist trap as they made their way across country. They had visited museums devoted to Pez, yo-yos, mustard, and cannibals. They had even visited the largest ball of twine in the world. They had even visited the second largest ball of twine in the world. But now he felt the need to assert himself, especially after the Hoover Historical Center turned out to be about the vacuum cleaner instead of the president. So he drove on. In Pennsylvania, Interstate 76 is called the Pennsylvania Turnpike. It extends 359 miles across the state. Some people call it the Tunnel Highway because it goes through a number of tunnels that were blasted in the mountains. There was little traffic on the turnpike, and they were making good time. But eventually, driver fatigue set in, and Dr. McDonald pulled off I-76 near Somerset, Pennsylvania. It was just a few miles to Pioneer Park Campground at the foot of the Laurel Ridge Mountains. After a quick dinner, the family went their separate ways for a while. Dr. McDonald bought a newspaper and found an empty hammock where he could read. Mrs. McDonald updated the Amazing But True website. Coke went to check out the lake where some kids were fishing. And Pep worked on the latest cipher they had received with no success. The McDonalds had enjoyed a lot of togetherness over the last 2 weeks, and everybody was starting to feel the need for a little alone time. I imagine we all feel that way right now. As darkness fell, they all returned to the RV to go to bed. In the middle of the night, Cook began talking in his sleep. "Don't want to go to Washington," he grunted almost incoherently. "Mrs. Higgins, Bowler Dudes, Archie Clone. Don't want to go. Want to go home." Eventually, the noise woke up his parents. They climbed out of bed to make sure Coke was okay. "Don't want to go. DC. Don't want to go. Want to go home." "He's having a nightmare," Dr. McDonald whispered. "I guess he really doesn't want to go to my sister's wedding," Mrs. McDonald whispered back. "Boys hate getting dressed up," said Dr. McDonald. "I'll bet that's it. When I was a kid, I'd do anything to get out of wearing a jacket and tie." "Shh," Mrs. McDonald whispered as she tucked the covers in around Coke. "Everything will be fine, honey." In the morning, they were back on the turnpike by 9 o'clock. Pep looked at her new cell phone and announced that it was the 1st of July. 3 days until the big wedding, 2 days until something was going to happen in Washington. She had no idea what it was going to be. He had driven about 30 miles when Dr. McDonald noticed the needle on the gas gauge was only slightly above E. At the next rest area in Bedford, Pennsylvania, he pulled into the gas station to fill up the tank. While his father took care of the gas and his sister went to buy a pack of gum, Coke went off to use the restroom. "What's wrong with the restroom in the RV?" his mother asked. "It's gross, Mom." Coke pulled open the door to the men's bathroom and looked around, just to be on the safe side. Nobody was in there. The 3 stalls were empty, and Coke went into the middle one. While he was in there doing his business, he heard the door open and footsteps enter the men's restroom. Somebody was whistling the Yellow Rose of Texas. Coke leaned forward and peeked under the stall door to see that the guy who came in was wearing black cowboy boots. Peeking through the narrow crack near the stall door, Coke could see the guy was wearing a large cowboy hat, but he couldn't see the guy's face. There was the sound of water in a sink and then the electric hand dryer. The guy was standing just a foot or two away from the stall, and it made Coke feel uncomfortable. And he didn't stand up even though he was finished. He didn't make a sound. He pretended he wasn't there. Then suddenly, an envelope slid into the stall and came to a stop at Coke's foot. He should have jumped up immediately and opened the stall door. He could have seen the face of the guy who slid in the note, and he would have found out who was sending him all those ciphers. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. Coke didn't open the door. Instead, he opened the envelope. It wasn't sealed, and there was a sheet of white paper inside. It was blank. Well, now Coke was mad. "Who is that?" he shouted, and he stuffed the paper back in the envelope in his pocket. He got up from the toilet and reached for the little lock on the stall door. It wouldn't open. Somehow, the stall had been locked from the outside by the guy with the cowboy boots, and now those boots were walking across the tile floor and out of the restroom. And that's when Coke realized that he smelled something, and it wasn't a bathroom smell. He'd been in a lot of smelly bathrooms in his life, but this was worse, much worse. It smelled like chemicals, the kind of chemicals you're not supposed to inhale. "I gotta get out of here," Coke mumbled to himself. He couldn't slide under the stall door. He couldn't climb over it. He couldn't open it. He was trapped. Gas was filling the bathroom now. There was a hissing sound, as if the gas was escaping from an aerosol container. Coke was choking, his eyes filled with tears. He couldn't call for help. He took off his t-shirt, ripped it in half, and wrapped it around his face, hoping to filter out at least some of the poison gas. It was burning his eyes and his lungs. He leaned on the stall door as hard as he could, but it wouldn't budge. He took a running leap at it, but the stall was too small to get enough momentum. He was starting to panic. Finally, He just reared back and kicked the door open like the police do on TV. The stench of poison gas filled the bathroom. Coke closed his eyes and made a mad dash for the exit door, hoping that door had not been locked too. He stumbled out into the open air and collapsed on the grass, choking and gagging. Pep was sitting there at the picnic table waiting for him. "What is your problem?" she said. "Did you get a look at the guy who just came out of the bathroom?" Coke asked her. "Yeah, you just came out of the bathroom." "I mean before me. The guy was wearing cowboy boots and a cowboy hat." "I just got here," Pep said. "Man, what were you doing in there? I can smell it from here. What did you eat for breakfast?" "I didn't eat anything," Coke shouted. "Some guy tried to poison me in there. And he slipped this envelope into the stall." "Oh, great," Pep said. "We haven't even solved the last cipher yet." "I don't know if it is a cipher." Coke took the envelope out of his pocket and showed the piece of paper to Pep. "It's blank," she said. "I know. Come on, let's get out of here before somebody sees you and thinks you caused that smell," Pep told her brother. "We can work on this in the RV." They rushed back to the parking lot where their parents were waiting anxiously to get back on the road. "What happened to your shirt?" Mrs. McDonald asked Coke. "It ripped," Coke admitted. "We can see that," Dr. McDonald said. "How do you rip your shirt going to the bathroom?" "Some guy in the bathroom tried to kill me with poison gas," Coke said, "so I ripped my shirt and made it into a gas mask so I could breathe." "Very funny. You kids crack me up," Dr. McDonald said. "Let's go." "I wish you would take better care of your clothing," said Mrs. McDonald. Dr. McDonald hit the gas and got on the highway again. In the back seat, the twins looked at the white piece of paper carefully, turning it over, holding it up to the light. It was hard enough to figure all these ciphers out when they were written clearly. Now, Pep had to work from a white sheet of paper. It was frustrating. "Maybe the clue is simply invisible or emptiness or something like that," Coke whispered to his sister. "Or maybe the white sheet of paper is the clue itself. Maybe it means the White House. Maybe there's going to be a terrorist attack on the White House. Or maybe the message was written in invisible ink," Pep guessed. "Oh, great." Pep put aside the white piece of paper and went back to working on the previous cipher they had received. The SSGBETPLARAAENXRNDNX. 15 miles down the highway, I-76 forks up towards Harrisburg and Philadelphia, and I-70 forks down toward Baltimore. Dr. McDonald merged onto I-70 south. "I got it!" Pep suddenly exclaimed. "What have you got, honey?" asked her mother from the front seat. Poison ivy," Pep said, scratching her leg. "I think maybe I got it back at the rest station. We'll get some calamine lotion next time we stop." Silently, Pep motioned for her brother to slide over next to her and look at her notebook. She had written out the cipher. Then below that, she wrote it again, but this time she divided it up into 4 lines. "So," Coke asked, shrugging, I don't get it." "It's so simple," Pep whispered in his ear. "I can't believe it took me so long to figure it out." "Don't read it horizontally, read it vertically." Coke looked at the letters again. It's backwards for you guys. Star, Spangled Banner. "You got it!" Coke exclaimed. "Maybe we should take her to a doctor," said Mrs. McDonald. "I'm fine, Mom." "Daisy, hush. You gotta take a nap." Pep went back to the page in her notebook with the other ciphers on it and added the new one. July 3rd, 2 p.m. Greensboro lunch counter, John Bull, Star-Spangled Banner. What could it mean? What could a train, the national anthem, and a symbol of the civil rights movement have to do with one another? That's the mystery to figure out on this one. Every time they got a new cipher, it made things more confusing. And now they had one that said nothing at all. Coke shook his head wearily. Half an hour after the highway split, a sign appeared at the side of the road. "Maryland welcomes you." "Woohoo!" Coke hollered. "Did you know that the state sport of Maryland is jousting?" "Nobody cares," Pep told him. "Jousters care," Coke said. They had traveled almost 200 miles across southwestern Pennsylvania. From the front seat, their mother informed them that they were exactly 100 miles from Washington, D.C. now. The twins fell silent in the back of the RV. Cope didn't bother to announce any more fun facts about Maryland. Something was going to happen in Washington. Something big. The end was near. And that is where I'm going to stop for today. It seems like a really good stopping place. They made it all the way through Pennsylvania into Maryland. We are getting there. 100 miles from Washington, D.C. If they wanted to, they could make a drive in an hour and a half. It's not very far at all. So they are definitely almost there. What are they going to find there? Has anybody figured out what those clues mean? The Greensboro Lunch Counter, Star Spangled Banner, and John Bull. Those three things actually do have one big thing in common. And that's what we're trying to figure out. It's what Coke and Pep are trying to figure out. So hopefully you guys can figure out where they're headed before they figure it out. And this blank piece of paper, what are they going to do with it? So it sounds to me like there's... Let's say, wait. Hold on, I want to reference this one more time before I... All right, I don't want to give it away. So I thought maybe it was mentioned here. Oh, yes. Pep suggested that it was written in invisible ink. How might they find out? There are different types of invisible ink. There's some really easy invisible inks that you can make at home by yourself. I know we've played with some of them at the library at Steam On and Tech Camp. So, what do you think? If you got this message, you thought it was invisible ink, what would you do to try to decipher it, figure out what it says? There's a couple of different things that you could try, but you gotta remember you can't ruin the clue because then you won't have it. How about you try to figure this out? All right, but I'm gonna end there for today. So try and figure out our ciphers and our clues. We're gonna find out if that zombie museum actually exists, because that really kind of sounds like fun. If it's really a thing. So these books are 10 years old, so it may have existed and it doesn't now. But I'm going to try and find out. So I will see you guys tomorrow. Stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully you'll see everybody very soon at the library. No word yet as to when that's going to happen, but hopefully soon. I'll see you guys all later. Bye.